Hello again friends and welcome back to Junkyard Rock Commentary. This is my YouTube channel where I talk about rock and roll music in English because I already have a website and a channel where I talk in my native language, so I needed to do this. And today we have an interesting story here to discuss. It is a story about a band called Wildstreet, and the story is brought to us by one and only Sleaze Rocks. Okay, so Sleaze Rocks is the best website in the world as far as glam metal and sleaze glam music is concerned, so go check them out. I've been following this website since the beginning and still it is the best one. So, Wildstreet. Who are Wildstreet? Wildstreet is a band from New York. They started around 2006. They released, I think, 3 albums so far, because the last one from 2021 was Wildstreet 3 that I reviewed here on my website. I should say album was completed in 2021 because it all started in 2017 with a strategy releasing singles, singles from time to time, and it was completed back then in, let's see here, in June of 2021. It was a very good album, very solid. If you're a fan of Faster Pussycat, Guns N' Roses, From Sunset Strip, or even bands like The Throbs or Spread Eagle from the New York scene, then the Wildstreet is definitely a band for you. After releasing this album, they started, hey, check it out, I even did an albumometer, which is basically a short video of my review of an album that I did back then on my first channel. So as you can see here, you got all the info. So Sleaze hard rock band. So we had Eric Jayk on vocals, Jimmy Marlowe on guitar, Dom on guitar, Johnny D on bass, and Locke on drums. That was the lineup that, was present at the time of releasing this album, actually. And this is the thing that we are going to talk about. The band members of Wildstreet now. Something happened, but let's see this thing till the end. So we have songs here, and the most important thing on these short album reviews that I did was this. This was an albumometer, so as you can see here, the ratings is 8.6, so this is the rating of this album, one of the highest ratings I ever gave to an album. So the ratings goes from 5 to 10, and they're divided into the songs are divided into some categories. As you can see here, the best songs on this album, in my opinion, were Born to Be and Mother. Then in the next category we had Tennessee Cocaine, Midnight Children, we had 3 good songs, 3-Way Ride, Set It Off, Rise Hell, and 1 average, Still Love You. I think it was a ballad, and I don't really like ballads, so, anytime you release a ballad, I'm not gonna like it. So, yeah, we didn't have any album fillers and totally missed songs, so in each of these categories gives a certain amount of points or grades. Hit and epic songs gives you 10, then goes 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, then you sum it up all and divide it by the number of songs and you get a rating. So it's the best way of rating the albums in the world, I think. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, they started with one lineup in June, so like a year ago they had one lineup, and then both guitarists disappeared. I don't know why. When we talk about Wildstreet, it's mostly Eric. He's a guy who runs this band and he's a guy behind this band, so anything related to Wildstreet is also related to him. He's a great guy. He's a really charismatic on the stage, and also he's a guy who really works a lot, and the guy just doesn't stop. He's everywhere. He's present on every social media. He does interviews, he replies to your comments, he likes your comments, and this is not a thing that most of musicians do in these days, right? But after those 2 guitarists left, he added Crispy Borrell, a guy named Crispy Borrell, to play a guitar, and then Crispy and other members disappeared from the band, and it all happened this July. The last month of 2022, now is August, as you can see, and I was just confused. Why? What happened? Why all of a sudden Eric Jayk is writing on his Facebook, Twitter and Instagram that he is looking for new band members. Sleaze Rocks also reported on that. Wildstreet frontman Eric Jayk looking for new band members, August 5th. So I started a little digging to see what really happened to the band. Everything that I could find in these comments that people were writing, mostly on Wildstreet social media platforms, was that the band didn't have any support. They played shows in USA that were empty, and apparently Crispy Borrell and the other guys just left the band and said, we don't want to play with you anymore, Eric. It's very weird. So by February 2022, only Jayk and Marlowe remained in the group. Jimmy Marlowe was another guitarist, but I mean, to be honest, during those last Wildstreet shows in June or July, I haven't noticed another guitar player. I know that Eric Jayk is also a guitar player and that he plays guitar from time to time. So they only had one guitar player here, but yeah, who knows? Who knows what happened actually? And then everybody left, so he was on his own in the middle of Mexico, I think. And then he tried to find some new members for the band, and he did it. Actually, he did it, and Sleaze Rocks is reporting on it right here. Wildstreet announced new band members: Sean Vincent, Kevin Cevallos, and Mike Goyrichelaya, or I don't know how to pronounce this surname. Sorry, Mike. Can I call you Mike? I'll call you Mike. The band is set to play Rocklahoma Festival this year. It's a huge American festival, and they have a lot of small gigs in between. So what happened here is that those guys answered the call, sent their respective videos playing Wildstreet songs, and they got a job. This guitarist here, Kevin Cevallos, also has a podcast called Heaven of Rock Podcast, and he interviewed Eric Jayk. So cool. And then you see, he became a member of Wildstreet. So I'm glad that Eric found new members. I really am. I really liked Wildstreet when I discovered them. I thought that we have a band that really is cool, and everyone who loves music from Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses to Crash Diet and Hardcore Superstars and other bands from Europe in that same genre should and need to listen to Wildstreet. At least check them out if you don't become their fans in the end. But so there's one thing that I really don't understand here. I couldn't find the answers in all those comments on Facebook. Why did those guys left Wildstreet? So, as I mentioned earlier, one of the reasons was bad attendance on those shows. They played like bowling alleys and places like that, and they didn't have the support they thought they should get. The real question here is what actually happened. What the hell happened with this band? The band was on their feet, great album, great run of shows, and then everything collapsed. I don't know. I don't live in USA, and I don't know what's happening there in terms of gigs and unknown bands trying to break out, you know. I'm here in Europe, and bands like Wildstreet are appreciated here more than in USA, that in my opinion. But again, I say I don't live there, and everything I get from the USA is through, you know, websites, social media accounts, and of course from interviews, podcasts and things like that, and other YouTube channels. So I was really confused, but I knew that Eric would find a new guy. So right now, I don't know. I really don't know. I hope that they are going to have a better run this time, and I hope that these guys are going to stay in the band and last a little bit longer than the guys before. And I really think that people in United States should begin to appreciate bands like this, because yeah, of course, Wildstreet is someone can say a throwback to the 80s, but they're not a throwback to the 80s. They're just influenced by the 80s bands, like the whole Scandinavian scene was in the beginning of 2000s, with bands like Crash Diet, Hardcore Superstar, I don't know, Crazy Leaks and everything. Hey, Crazy Leaks, as I mentioned them, they released a song called Anthem for America on their last album from 2021 where they talk about this issue that I think the American audience should start to respect these bands a little bit more. On the other hand, we can all learn something from this, right? There's one thing that I want to mention here also is that the thing that I don't understand actually is what is the difference between band like Wildstreet and bands like, you know, Greta Van Fleet and Classless Act? Dirty Honey, for example. What's the difference? I mean, yeah, maybe Wildstreet have a little bit more of that sleaze kind of glam look, but not in general. I mean, just a little bit. And those bands are more like, you know, a new wave of classic rock bands. In the end, they all play the same music. They play rock and roll music in 2022. And on the one hand, you have Wildstreet that plays like empty bowling alleys, and on the other hand, you have Classless Act that opens for Motley Crue and Def Leppard on their respective stadium tour. And you have Greta Van Fleet, a band that was pushed by an industry, and everybody in the world knows about that band. And that band sounds exactly like Led Zeppelin. If you say that Wildstreet maybe resembles Guns N' Roses or, you know, Faster Pussycat, wow, is that a bad thing? But those guys that are 100% Led Zeppelin copy, they're great, but the band, they have a little bit of influence of 80s glam metal music, they're bad. And we don't want to do anything with that. Yeah. I mean, that's crazy. That's the thing there that I don't understand, and the thing that I don't really like. So, if we are in this era of new classic rock bands being a thing again, then we should give that opportunity to every classic rock band, every band that has that a little bit older classic vibe in their music. But this is not going to happen, and this is a thing that I really don't understand. So I can really see Wildstreet playing that stadium tour side to side to Classless Act and Motley Crue and Def Leppard, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. I really hope that it is, because, you know, I really think that Wildstreet deserves much more. So go check them out, go check the band, go check their music. This album, Wildstreet 3, is awesome, so you can listen to it and follow them on social media, give them a like, and also give me a like if you want, if you like this a little story. So this is it for today, guys. See you next time. Junkyard Rock comments. Ciao, ciao, and bye-bye.